Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel. Today we'll be discussing a new what if. In celebration of hitting 10,000 subscribers, I know I am really behind as now we are at 12,000, so yeah, I'm a bit late to this. I will be doing a what if many have been asking for quite some time. What if Wrathful Saiyan was in Dragon Ball? Some people commented, what if I was in Dragon Ball, but I considered that to be a whole different what if. But Wrathful Saiyan, who is my avatar being in the world of Dragon Ball. Obviously, since I am called Wrathful Saiyan, he would be a Saiyan. I was sitting on how I would add this character and how he would be introduced, and I think the way I made it works pretty well. How will this new character be like with my creation of him? How will he affect the story of Dragon Ball? Will it be positive or negative? How could this massive change of a completely new Saiyan affect the entirety of Dragon Ball as we know it? Also, I own a Discord server for anyone who wants to join and talk more about Dragon Ball with me and other viewers. Maybe give us some of your own ideas of what ifs, and maybe in the future I could do them. Check the link in the description down below. For today's question of the video, it comes from Blood Countess Alice. Wrathful Saiyan, who is your favorite Dragon Ball video game exclusive character? It would have to be Broly from Dragon Ball Fusions, where it's a fusion game where we saw many different fusions that we never thought we would see, like Frieza and Cell or Janemba and Buu. But Broly is a fusion between Z Broly fused with Goku, which I always like the fusion like that. I always want to see like a Broly and Goku fusion, whether it's Broly from Z or Broly from Super. I just think that fusion would be cool. And since he's a game exclusive character, he would be my favorite just because I like those two characters the most. Thank you for your question. If you want your comment to be featured in the next video, just comment down a question you would like for me to answer, whether it's about Dragon Ball, anime, or personal, and maybe you'll be looking for your comment to be featured in the next video. Without further ado, and for the long wait, I apologize again, but also thank y'all for letting me hit this milestone. Let us dive into the first part of what if Wrathful Saiyan was in Dragon Ball. Now, before we get started, we have to give our new Saiyan a name. We can't just call him Wrathful the entire time. I think the name that we will give him would be Cado, as my name does starts with the letter C, and the name sticks with the Saiyan theme of names, with his vegetable being avocado. Definitely not shamelessly promoting my gaming channel. Anyways, now Cado is born 3 years before Goku, so a bit before the destruction of planet Vegeta. He would be considered a low-class Saiyan, with his power level only being around 50, so he would be sent out once he got to the age of 3 to a weak planet to conquer it, so he would also be spared from his untimely death, avoiding the destruction of the planet by only just a few days. His trip was a bit rocky as he did meet with some space rebel which did damage the spaceship a little, only affecting the program where it would make a hologram of the moon to make him transform into the Great Ape form. Once he arrived on the planet, the people of the planet surrounded his space pod as they didn't know who it was, but once they saw a young baby, they decided to take care of the baby, as they did see that inside the space pod was his name written in it. They took Cado in to take care of him, as Cado would be raised with these people and end up becoming his family for the next 5 years, raising him kindly with care and love. He grew to have many friends and grew to have a gentle nature, losing his way of being a Saiyan. Sadly, things would not stay swell forever. One night, a full moon would appear in the sky, and Cado would look at it, and this would cause him to transform into his Great Ape form. When he transformed into the ape, he caused mass destruction on the people who he considered a family, without him even knowing. With this planet being weak, its people were too, as they could not fight against this monster, as Cado would end up laying waste to everyone and the entire civilization. Once the night fell and the day rose, he woke up not remembering what had happened. He looked around to see all the destruction, and he was confused and scared, not knowing what had happened. Walking through all the destroyed buildings and seeing many lifeless bodies, most that he knew and that were close to him. He found one person still alive, barely, his body completely broken as he struggled to get up. But once he saw Cado, he started to crawl away, calling him a monster, as this startled Cado, not understanding why he's being called a monster. The man called Cado the giant ape monster that ended their race and destroyed their home. He would point at Cado's tail, calling him a cursed monster, as they should have killed him once he arrived on their planet 5 years ago, as he would end up dying to his injuries. This hurt Cado as he was still a child at the time. Here, Cado isn't the average Saiyan, not being battle hungry or bloodthirsty, with the way he was raised with these kind people that took him in and took care of him. He would drop to his knees and begin crying up a storm, as now he is all alone with the knowledge that he killed everyone that he once called family. He hated himself and hated his tail, as he would rip it off even though it did hurt him a lot. He didn't understand who he was or why he was different from everyone else. They never explained how they ever found him. He would stay there for some time until he got enough courage to get up and walk around some more, but no one was left, and he was truly by himself. He didn't know what to do. No matter where he looked, all he saw was destruction around him. He was hungry and tired, walking around back and forth, hoping something would change, until he heard an animal that walked by the town. Then his Saiyan instincts kicked in, as he rushed to attack the animal, as he hasn't eaten in a long time. Once he realized what he was doing, it was too late. The animal was already dead. He cried knowing that he killed once again, but he knew what he had to do if he wanted to survive. But he made a vow that he won't take another life. While he was eating, he heard some noise coming under the rubble. He quickly sprang up, throwing the rubble out of the way, and what he saw shocked him. It was his space pod, and it managed to stay intact during his rampage in his great ape form. He didn't fully know what it was, as he was just a baby when he first arrived. He saw the inside and thought it looked comfy as he went to sit inside to rest a bit, but when he was getting inside, he accidentally pushed a button that closed him into the space pod, and he began launching himself back into space to another planet. During this, Cado began to freak out as he didn't want to leave his home at first, but once he went further away, he saw what he did to the poor people and believed it was best that he left, as he would pass out due to his exhaustion. Some days would pass by as he would end up on a neighboring planet. He landed in a deserted location, but not far off from where he is currently. He saw another civilization. He decided that it was best that he did not enter the town for the safety of the people, but he was still very hungry. He saw animals around him, but again did not want to hurt anything. He decided to stay in his spaceship for the time being, but days and days would pass as he would just grow more hungry by the day, until one day, a person from a nearby town found him. Cado crawled away, trying to get away from him, until they dropped some food for him and walked away. Once Cado felt like he was alone again, he began eating the food until he was stuffed. He began feeling a lot better and stronger after finally getting some food. Currently, his power level has grown from 50 at birth all the way to 150. For the next few weeks, the same person would come to drop food for Cado, as Cado was somewhat growing close to this one friendly stranger, but on a day he was supposed to show up, they didn't, as Cado would look over to see the town nearby as he would see an explosion. This made Cado worried as he would rush over closer to see what is going on. He would spot two alien soldiers terrorizing the people of the town. Unknown to him, they were both Frieza soldiers. He saw a crowd of people in fear, including the stranger that was leaving him food, so he sprung into action, landing a kick on one of the soldiers, sending him flying. His rage grew to boost his power level to 400 for a small moment. The other Frieza soldiers weren't too scared as they both had a power level of 1200, but they soon noticed that Cado was a Saiyan, as his tail regrew. They called him a Saiyan, which was the first time that Cado had heard what he was. They say that Frieza had killed them all by destroying their planet. Cado didn't understand what they meant and got into a fighting stance, ready to fight to protect these people, even though he was far outmatched, but he did not know that, until the warriors from the planet arrived to fight against the Frieza soldiers. When they used their scouters to see that their power levels were outmatching them, with 5 of them having a power level of 1000, which seeing this, they fled rushing out of the planet. The warriors looked at Cado, wondering who this stranger was, but before Cado could react, he would be knocked out by one of the warriors as he was taken in. Waking up, he was in a cage as a prisoner, as he overheard what his captors were discussing, planning what to do to Cado. Because of him being a Saiyan, they believed Frieza would come to their planet to destroy it, so they planned to trade their safety for giving him the Saiyan kid that they have. Cado began to grow sad as he didn't know what would happen to him, until he looked over at the planet's moon as he began to feel something primal grow within him. His size began to grow as he broke out in his cage and destroyed the building he was currently in, crushing many of the warriors in the rubble. In his Ozaru form, he began destroying the city once again. The fighters that reside in the city tried to fight off Cado, but his size made it difficult, as Cado began crushing them. Just like the last city, Cado left it in destruction with most of its residents dead. He returned back to normal nearby his hidden spaceship as he passed out in a cave. He woke up to a loud crashing sound as he looked over to see many spaceships nearby the destroyed town. It was more Frieza soldiers, and there were an army of them this time. Cado remained hidden for the time being for them to move further away from his location, and once he saw them move farther, he left the planet quickly, heading to another planet. Over by Frieza, he grew angry, now knowing another Saiyan is alive out in the universe, as he would call over Vegeta and his crew, giving them a new mission of trying to find this rogue Saiyan and either make him join them or kill him. Back to Cado, he would be on a deserted planet with no type of living creatures on the planet besides huge beasts. For the time being, he didn't know how to feel as the people he tried protecting betrayed him. He didn't know if he could trust anyone but himself. He noticed his tail once more, cutting it off again, hating how he used that form once again, but the power he gets from the form does make him stronger, as he wanted that power without the form, so he began training himself to grow stronger. For a few months, he would train by himself, trying to grow stronger, as he did also fight against the beasts that lived on the planet to help him grow stronger, but also sometimes he needed to fight back so he could survive. He grew from a power level of 150 to 250 in almost a year, but during his time training, the Frieza soldiers from the last planet ended up following him. He quickly left as he still couldn't take them on or risk him being caught. Sadly for Cado, that is how his life will be for the next few years. Some years would go on, and currently Cado is at the age of 16 with a power level of 400. He decided to not continue running away as he wanted to face off the Frieza soldiers that has been following him for years, as he believed that he could take them on. Even though he isn't at a power level to be stronger than them, he does have something under his sleeve. During his years of training, he didn't just focus on growing stronger in strength, but also trying to tame the power of his grade 8 form, as he did a bunch of meditating and also many trial and errors of transforming into this grade 8 form, as currently he is close to obtaining a power where he could have the strength of his Ozaru form in his normal state, not fully having the 10 times boost, but only a fourth of the boost, bringing his power level to 1000. And if he catches the soldiers off guard, he would have a good chance. He remains hidden as he sees the soldiers land on the planet, as they begin scouting around, as Cado would pick them off one by one, not killing them but just incapacitating them. With efficiency and accuracy, he took them out with ease, until they came to the last soldier remaining, as he did catch Cado as a fight commenced. The soldier had the upper hand, which Cado allowed him to have until he powered up, closing the gap in power. And since the soldier was holding back, this allowed Cado to overpower him, knocking him out quickly. Before destroying their ship, Cado would gather supplies and new armor, as he did needed a new outfit, as he left them stranded on the planet, and for a bit losing the people that kept following him, leaving the planet and heading to another. The next planet he stayed at became his home for a few years as he continued his training, mostly focusing on trying to control his grade 8 form. By the time he was 26, we were a bit before at the start of Dragon Ball Z. His current power level is at 650, and he still remains close to fully controlling the grade 8 form, but he came to a hurdle as his training on his own wasn't proving to be helpful anymore. He decided it was time to move on and head towards another planet, hopping into his space pod and heading towards the nearest planet with life on it. The planet he landed on was planet Earth. His power level was sensed by every strong fighter, especially Goku and Piccolo, as they thought it was each other who had grown that powerful. They both headed towards that direction of the new power level. Cado got out of his ship and looked around the nearby area, hoping no one would find him, as he didn't want to be bothered or bother anyone. But without a scouter, he wouldn't be sensing the two fighters heading towards him. Cado would then be surrounded by both Goku and Piccolo, as they are shocked to see a new fighter with this high of a power level. Cado would stay on guard, not saying a word to these strangers. Piccolo, still being somewhat evil at this point, would instantly attack Cado, but he would just easily deflect the attack with ease. Now here, I would just say that both Goku and Piccolo have the same power level as they did at the start of Z, since we are only a few months before the actual start, being 334 for Goku and 322 for Piccolo, both with weighted clothing. They form some sort of alliance as they know that they cannot beat Cado on their own, but this truce is a lot less formed as it is on the spot and without any risk. Cado warns them that if they come any closer, he will fight back. In his mind though, he didn't really want to fight them, so he decides to hold back. They all spar as Cado is managing to handle both of them without having to use more power. Goku does notice the fact that Cado has a tail, saying he had one as well when he was younger. This intrigues Cado, asking Goku if he is a Saiyan, but Goku as well isn't too sure what a Saiyan is, explaining how he was raised on Earth. The fight continued on, but Cado was handling both Goku and Piccolo pretty easily, until they took off their weighted clothing, bringing both their power levels over 400. And now with the extra speed, they were managing to overpower Cado. He continued to hold his own, not tapping into his extra power as he truly didn't believe that they were his enemy. During the fight, however, he started to feel his Saiyan blood boil of excitement from the fight. They continued to fight as Cado began to fight harder, but with their combined speed and techniques, Cado was being outclassed, especially since he was holding back. While Goku was enjoying the fight, Piccolo was trying to kill Cado as he charged up a special beam cannon and shot it directly at him. Seeing how life-threatening the attack was, Cado decided not to play around anymore, powering up with his now 7.5 times boost in power level, bringing his power level to 4,875. He quickly maneuvered to gun punch Piccolo, still holding back heavily, so that he did not kill him, but only knocked him out. Cado looked at Goku as he decided to flee, as he wouldn't be able to hold his boost for long, as he was pretty injured from the fight. Goku, however, was left stunned at the immense power he sensed from Cado, not knowing what to do. Cado found a hidden cave as he powered down and remained hidden in the cave, his power level lowering down enough as he could rest up for a little while. Goku wasn't sure what to do until he heard the voice of Kami calling him and Piccolo over to the lookout. They would arrive at the lookout to the displeasure of Piccolo being at the lookout. Kami would explain that the man they fought is extremely powerful and should be considered dangerous, and that they should continue on their training to grow stronger so that they could take on this threat in the future. For the time being, until the start of Z, Goku and Piccolo would begin training together and slowly form a rivalry bond, while Kami kept an eye on Cado, but for Cado, he would mainly just survive on the planet, as he is lost and can't exactly find his way back to his space pod. So he would just gather food and meditate until he was back at 100%. The months would pass on as we are now in the start of Z, as things would be normal with Goku bringing Gohan to Kami's house to have a reunion with his friends as Raditz would arrive on planet. He would use his scouter to read any power levels, this time only reading Goku's, as now it is much stronger than what it was before, and it is the only closest one, with Piccolo being at the lookout, and luckily for Cado, he was meditating so his power level was lower than Goku at the time. Raditz would arrive and try to convince Goku, but one thing that would change is how Goku would utter the fact that there is another Saiyan on the planet which piques Raditz's interest as it may be the Saiyan that he and the other Saiyans have been looking for. But even then, Raditz would take Gohan as usual and Goku would try to fight back, but even with his increased power level in now being in the 500s, he would still be only 1/3 of Raditz's full power, as he would take Gohan and head back to his space pod. Cado was awoken when the space pod landed and decided to head over to the area where he heard the noise. He stayed his distance as he spotted Raditz putting a child into the space pod, as he heard the cries from the child. This reminded him of himself when he was captured at a young age, and this made him angry. He appeared in front of Raditz asking him to let the child go, before he gets hurt. Looking at his appearance, Raditz smirks, knowing full well that Cado is no doubt a Saiyan, as he told him that he has been looking for him for a while, using his Cado to read his power level as it stopped at 650, but began to slowly raise more and more. And that's going to leave it off for now. Tell me how y'all think about the first part and how it did with the origin saga and how it did with Cado's origin story. How will this interaction between Cado and Raditz play off? Will Cado ever join forces with the Z Fighters? Will they be able to stop the future threat of Vegeta and Nappa? What could have happened differently? Leave your thoughts down in the comments down below. I would love to hear them. If y'all are interested and enjoy, please even like and subscribe. Hit the notification bell to be alerted whenever I post another part. Thank y'all so much for watching, and again, thank y'all for the support and making the channel hit 10K. I will see y'all in the next part. See ya.